Varnishing timber is a time-honored practice that combines both protection and aesthetic enhancement, making it a cornerstone of woodworking and furniture finishing. Paints Wood Varnish acts as a durable shield, and it's safeguarding the timber from daily use, moisture and UV radiation when used outdoors. And Paints Wood Varnish deepens the wood's natural color, whether we're varnishing Meranti or softwoods like pine. In this video, I'm going to show you the correct way to varnish clean timber using Paints Wood Varnish, and I've chosen the color dark oak, and it's also available in clear, light oak, mahogany and teak. So I'm giving this cupboard, I stripped it with paint stripper back to bare. I'm now giving it an initial sand just to clean it up nicely with 100 grit sandpaper. 80 or 100 is generally good for an initial sand. And as I showed there, just sand with the grain. Don't sand in the opposite direction of the grain, because you'll end up scratching the timber and that's not good. So try your best to sand in the direction of the grain. I've taken a smaller piece of sandpaper just to get into those grooves, because obviously the sanding block won't do that. So I'm just giving this timber a general cleanup. And then lastly, give it a nice wipe with some turpentine on a cloth, just to get all the last bit of dust and gunk off. Now your timber will be nice and clean and ready for the first coat of varnish. Now it's quite important for your first coat to thin it out, and I'd say 10% with mineral turpentine. So I've measured it out because I'm only doing a cupboard door. So I've taken some varnish, 10% estimation of turpentine, thinning that first coat, stir it very well to get the color and product mixed up very nicely with the turpentine. And what I'm then going to do is give it a first coat, and I call it a wash coat, just that it seeps nicely into the timber. So your first coat, always thin 10% with mineral turpentine. So I'm applying my first thin coat, as I said, a wash coat, with Hamilton's Professional Paintbrush, an ideal quality brush for the application of varnish and many other coatings. So just get that thin wash coat on. Really make sure there's no pooling of the varnish in places. If you put it on too thick, go and soften out those areas, take the varnish away there. Just a very thin wash coat. And we're going to do the same now on this piece of raw pine, just so at the end of the day we can kind of compare color when we're done. Okay, so 16 hours later, that's the time you've got to wait between coats. So after 16 hours, I'm now giving the varnish a very light sand with 220 sandpaper, 220 grit, just to take out any nicks or bumps before we apply the second coat, undiluted. Please take note that Paints Wood Varnish cannot be applied onto floors and previously oiled timber, as well as creosote or carbolinium treated poles. So it must be on clean or raw timber, or previously varnished timber. If you have it varnished before and you just want to give it another coat, a light sand with 100 grit, wipe it down and re-varnish over the existing varnish. No problem at all. So remember, drying time on the varnish is always 16 hours between each coat, and the second coat, as I said, we're applying it undiluted, nice and thin like the first coat. We'll leave this to dry, and then we will give it another sand, a final 220 again, before we apply that third and final coat. Well, final coats have been done and our project is officially complete. Paints Wood Varnish definitely provides a protective finish and will ensure your hard work stands the test of time. That's it from me, Bernie B, and Metal Paints.